morning, everybody. Ted Haggard here from the Storehouse Church in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And every week I get on here and do a little 15-minute overview of one of the chapters that we're going to be studying at the Storehouse. At the Storehouse, we take one chapter a week. It's a discussion format service. And our goal is that when we leave that service, we know that chapter. And so today we're going to be looking at Esther, the 6th chapter. It's just so interesting because here in Esther, in Esther 6, we have a couple of primary characters. One is Haman. He is the most powerful official in the empire under the king. And so the king, of course, is in charge. And then Haman is his number one guy. And all of us know that have ever been around powerful people much, that there's always a problem with the number one guy, because he or she starts to think that they're the one. And they're not the one, they're the one that's there to serve the one. And so anyway, I want you to remember that name, Haman. It's very, very interesting. And then another one is Mordecai. Mordecai is a Jewish man. Mordecai was a poor guy. He hung out at the gate of the palace and at the city gate. And he was just a good man. And so he is Queen Esther's uncle. And so that's why this story is so powerful, because Mordecai was involved in the past in saving the king's life. And Mordecai was well thought of, well respected by everybody but Haman. Haman hated him, despised him, wanted him killed. And so Haman did all kinds of nefarious things to try to get the Jews killed. He was an anti-Semite. He was against the Jews. He was against Mordecai, and he wanted them killed. All right, so here in the 6th chapter, and I'm reading out of the New Living Translation, here it says in verse 2, in those records, he discovered an account of how Mordecai had exposed the plot of a couple of guys, 2 of the eunuchs who guarded the door to the king's private quarters. They had plotted to assassinate the king. All right, so the king was restless one night. The king asked that they would bring a record of the kingdom to read to him to get him through the night. And he was reminded that Mordecai saved his life. So in verse 3, he says, "What reward or recognition did we ever give Mordecai for this?" the king asked. His attendants replied, "Nothing has been done for him." And so here he goes through the realization of, gosh, I want to honor this guy. Now, you've got to remember that the number one guy under the king wanted Mordecai killed. And he had actually started the process of exactly how he was going to have him killed publicly and embarrassed and dishonored. All right. So Haman came in to talk to the king, not knowing what had happened when the king found out about Mordecai. And the king says, "What should I do to honor a man who truly pleases me?" Now, Haman was so self-centered, he thought the king was talking about him. And so he gave an explanation of how somebody that pleases the king should be honored, thinking it was going to be for him. So Haman thought to himself, whom would the king wish to honor more than me? All right, so he replied, If the king wishes to honor someone, he should bring out one of the king's own royal robes, as well as a horse that the king himself has ridden, one with a royal emblem on its head. Let the robes and the horse be handed over to one of the king's most noble officials, and let him see the man whom the king wishes to honor is dressed in the king's robes and led through the city square on the king's horse. Have the officials shout as they go, "This is what the king does for someone he wishes to honor." All right. So, excellent, the king said to Haman. Quick, take the robes and my horse and do just as you have said for Mordecai the Jew. Now for Haman. Okay, everybody. Haman was planning on killing Mordecai, and Haman ends up designing the way to glorify Mordecai. And here it says, Mordecai the Jew, who sits at the gate of the palace, leave out nothing you have suggested. All right. So Haman took the robes and put them on Mordecai. Oh, he hated that. He placed him on the king's own horse and led him through the city square, shouting, "This is what the king does for someone he wishes to honor." Afterward, Mordecai returned to the palace gate, but Haman hurried home dejected and completely humiliated. So when Haman goes home, he tells the story. And here's what his advisors and his wife told him. Since Mordecai, this man who has humiliated you, is of Jewish birth, you will never succeed in your plans against him. It will be fatal to continue opposing him. All right. God has chosen the Jews, and God blesses the Jews to be a blessing to people all over the world. In Genesis, the 12th chapter, it says, if you bless the Jewish people, you will be blessed. If you curse the Jewish people, you will be cursed. All right. And so we went through the Holocaust. It was absolutely horrible. And we decided that Jewish people needed the power of a state to protect themselves. And it's because, as you know, being a citizen, we here in America, we have a constitution that protects us from the state, and we have the power of the state as a public servant. But the Jews have suffered horribly at the power of the state in the old Soviet Union and certainly in Germany years ago. All right, so we established Israel, the state of Israel, in the Middle East so that the Jews could be protected. All right, then a group of people around Israel, different groups of people, have organized and said their intent is to destroy the state of Israel. Have you ever seen a more miserable bunch of folks? And Jared Kushner just wrote an article saying if Hamas would have taken the amount of money they've spent on tunnels and weapons and built beautiful hotels along the Mediterranean Sea, they would have more than enough money and power to take care of all their people with great wealth. All right, but instead they decided they wanted to destroy the Jewish people. And because of it, Hamas is being destroyed right now. And many of the people, Hamas was elected by the people in the Gaza Strip. And so many of the people that just voted for Hamas and agreed to the purpose statement that our purpose is to destroy Israel, destroy the Jews. From the river, that's Jordan, to the sea, that's the Mediterranean Sea. They want the Jews wiped out, and they will fail. And it will be an embarrassment for them. I've made it a point in my life to always bless the Jewish people that I'm around. And if I find out a person is a Jew that I didn't know, I immediately do wonderful things for them as quickly as I can, and it's produced wonderful blessings in my life. And so here we see Mordecai blessed by the very guy that hates him, and Mordecai honored by the very guy that hates him. And everybody, I just think that's a standard. That's a reality. The Jews are God's chosen people. We Christians are engrafted into their covenant. And because we're engrafted in, we are spiritually Jewish. And so those who bless us are blessed, and those who curse us are cursed. All right, everybody, that's enough for today. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.